tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do and how you ended up here doing this magical thing that you do.
Yeah, what kind of magic took place for me to be here?
Yeah.
It's been such a beautiful process of and blossoming.
Mm,
That's a beautiful word I started to use and own it as well. As my life has truly uh, been transformed by all of these gifts and my own ability to open,
mm.
to receive, and to learn who I am and what I'm meant to do in life. So the story is I grew up in Colombia in the 80s. I'm 43. I have a very normal childhood in the context of a country that was going through a really difficult time politically, socially. So it was a really unsafe place to be. And I never knew that until I was older. I played with my friends outside and I grew up in the city, always going to the countryside and spending time in nature and finding that that was my happy place, my element. And yet, as I got a little older, I became aware of the dangers and the reality of unsafety that the country was experiencing.
Yeah, describe that. I don't really know a lot about Colombia in the 80s.
So it was a time of heavy cartels activity, crime,
Okay.
kidnappings,
Ooh.
and bombings
Oh, wow.
mainly. So that hit very close to home as I had a lot of people close to my heart who had family members who were kidnapped and killed. And it was unsafe to go places because bombs were exploding.
Wow, that's intense.
So there were
How
things
old
that,
were you around? I mean, you grew up at
yeah,
that time, so
I was around, 8, 10, 12 years
little.
old.
Mm,
And like as children, we just want to have a good time and
yeah.
make the best out of the circumstances. Like during that time, that because they had bombed certain water, um, like dams that
Mm,
had a lot to do with the electric system
mm,
and probably electric towers and so on. We were in so light, we would have no power like every afternoon
mm.
for like 4 or 5 hours. And so it became like we would have to eat dinner and do homework and with a candlelight and warm our dinner in a little um, tiny gas stove and go
Wow.
back to this reality that for most people it sounds very traumatic, and probably it was, but we didn't really know. We were with friends and family, and I can't even begin to imagine the level of stress and anxiety and fear that my parents and the grown-ups amongst us experience.
Right. So as children, I feel like we have the ability to go through really horrific situations and not even know it because we don't have anything really to compare it to. This
Mhm.
is just life. And these are just things that we do. You don't
Correct.
have anything to compare it to because you haven't seen more of the world. So it just seems very normal to you,
Yes,
right?
yes. And yet there is this sense of collective fear,
Mm, yeah.
and I think a lot about this distrust or mistrust.
Mm.
What is the right word?
I'm not sure. Does that
Lack of
ring a
lack of
bell? Both of them.
trust in the government, in hope for the future.
Mm,
It's the most similar thing that I have experienced as a grown up has been the pandemic, and
right.
those first few months of what are we going to do? We don't know. What's going to happen next.
Yeah. How was that triggering for you?
I think it was, but in a way, it was also I showed up with such a level of, I think, strength or resilience, maybe because I had gone through similar times.
Right.
So, given that I was a mom, and then I was in that kind of grown up role with my child,
Right.
thinking about where is the world going to end, what's going to happen. But it was a very interesting experience for me, the whole COVID
Mm.
thing. But yeah, my life was, revolving around that at a young age. And um, when I came here for the first time to the States, I was 14 years old when my parents, I guess, were going through a hard time with me and adolescence. And
Mm.
probably a lot of the things that were manifesting from those earlier years of a lot of distress. And they sent me as an exchange student, or yeah, to my aunts, and to kind of live the American dream for a little bit, for about 8 months. So I came here and went to like middle school, part of high school, a very culturally shocking experience. I did not speak a drop of English.
Oh, wow.
And so during that time, I developed an eating disorder. I developed anorexia
Oh, wow.
because I had nothing else to hold on to control. So I became obsessed with, and also I was very confused by the eating habits in this country, and by seeing how people didn't sit down and have like a lunch and a dinner, and everything was on the go, and all this fast food and the schools system and food. It was just all so confusing to me.
Wow.
So I ended up having this really intense process with anorexia that then kind of healed in its own, or is what I thought. But I struggled with that during many years in my teens. So that was one part that I think um, really impacted my life at a young age.
Hmm.
Having that experience, and also which brought so much learning. As I returned, I was fully bilingual after like 8 months. I had learned. I came back
That's pretty
and
good.
integrated right into it, and then I went to college in Colombia. And at that
When you
time,
say you came back, you went back to Colombia?
I went back to Colombia to
Okay.
finish school and to continue on with my life. And then in the early 2000s is when I was already in business school
Okay.
to go to college. Not what I wanted to do. It was always the right thing to do.
Right.
What is going to make your parents proud? What is going to be accepted? What may grant you a possibility to earn an income, to
Yep.
have a job? And for a family like mine, being like a middle class family, it was always this deep, I think, pressure to go for what is safe,
Hmm.
not take any risks,
Yeah.
um, play it kind of very, very safe in every aspect of life. And
Yeah.
that's mainly values and conditionings that came from my dad and from his family. Uh, just don't get in trouble. And I was also the oldest of my family. So I had these big shoes to wear. Um, and yeah, so I went back to a time where my parents had, because of the circumstances of the country and their jobs, and it became an unsafe situation for them to be there and for us to be there. They basically lost their jobs, and they left the country. And then later on, I made the tough choice of leaving to go after them and supporting, because at that point, my dad had been diagnosed with cancer, needed an emergency surgery. My mom was also, her health was um, diminishing, and they were alone by that time already here in a place of complete vulnerability. And so I finished school, business school, and I came to join them in 2004.
Nice.
So
Where were they here in Florida still?
in Orlando,
Orlando. Okay.
yeah. Thankfully, we had an aunt who was really the anchor for that transition. I had a younger brother, but a little sister, and they had to start from scratch. We had lost pretty much everything in
Wow.
Colombia. And yet I was just recently graduated from, this very prestigious business school, and had a parent bright future. And I it was a tough, really tough choice, because I also, based on my prior experience here, I did not think I wanted to live in this country.
Oh, right. Yeah. But I guess when
Yeah.
your own country is in shambles and unsafe,
Yeah, opportunities were just not there, or at least is the belief that we had,
right?
in my family.
Mm,
So that was the right thing. Come here and start from the bottom.
yep.
By that time, my parents were um, cleaning, going through the process with documentation, cleaning like houses and hotels and schools, and doing whatever they could do. And then later on, they had a paper route. So they would work
Oh
24/7
my gosh.
at night, overnight, delivering the paper, because that also did not require them to speak fluent. They were not fluent.
Right.
They are still not fluent, but after all these years, they found their place and a way to create a life here. So I was part of all that process. And in contrast, I had a degree, I had the language, I had also a very deep contradiction, because I saw that I had to be here in order to help them get ahead, and to get ahead myself, and yet feel so disconnected to this culture,
Wow.
or what I knew about this culture.
Right. That's just very interesting experience. Just having, yeah, that you have on paper what it
Mhm.
takes, right? You have the language, you have the education, but now you're in a place where it's not home.
Yeah, it's completely different from home.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. So, but now you've kind of come full circle, right? Because you run retreats in your home country.
Yeah, so I had to go back, and I knew there would be a time in my life when I would seek that reconnection with my roots. And that was kind of the key to finding myself,
Mm,
and to going back to my my nature, my origins, my my place.
right.
And so all of that was truly the manifestation of this vision of returning, but returning with tools, and with this desire to give back, and
Mm,
to be a bridge
mhm,
and a vessel.
mm.
And so that's how all of this has been built.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a beautiful story. Yeah, you
Mm.
got out, come back, but in a different capacity because you're coming out. You've learned so many things that you can bring a different level of awareness.
Yes, yes, and in that process, heal not only myself, but create healing opportunities for others.
Yeah,
That is a big component of
yeah,
it.
that's huge. Um, do you focus any of like the your retreats on local women? I just assumed that it was a women's retreat. I shouldn't do
Well, it's an
that.
evolution. It's an evolution. It's been really interesting. I would say maybe 80% of my, if not more, participants are women,
Right.
who are very called to this way of coming home to themselves.
Right.
Also, because there is such a component of culture and immersion in the crafts, in the arts, in the food, in the land, that I feel women find so much value in this part. And so it's an experience of everything. It's a is a very holistic experience where healing is part of everything that we do, from sitting on ceremonies with ancestral plants and medicines to going to the waterfalls and doing offerings to the mountain and learning from the women who work the fibers and the clay and the animals, and the food, and the way they grow food, the way they eat, the way they cook, the way they use their herbs, and it's all a truly eye-opening experience, I think, into customs and traditions that we do have in this country, I'm sure, and they're just not accessible, or perhaps they haven't been valued and they haven't been celebrated.
They have not been valued or celebrated, and I'm sure they are there. I think that's one of the things that makes this country like beautiful, but also a little bit detrimental to culture because it's just this um, culture of conforming,
Hmm.
and we talked a little bit before we started about the school system,
Yes.
and that's all about conforming. So we never did school.
Mhm.
Um, that's a whole other topic, but I feel like the culture of America, obviously, indigenous culture, has been suppressed and, you know, put on a reservation and mostly taken away and then, shot with a bunch of alcohol. So, I
Mhm.
mean, if you can find somebody who remembers,
Yeah.
the wisdom keepers there, and then being a melting pot of a country, the other culture comes from all the other nations. But when
Yes.
they come from other places here, they assimilate into this, you know, European culture. I don't even know if it's a Euro. I don't even know what American culture is.
Yeah.
It's consumerism. It's
Yeah.
like a system.
Yeah. It's like our true traditions and values and ancestral knowledge has been diluted,
Yeah,
perhaps, and because we have access to so much information
yeah,
and we are so focused on taking
yeah,
as opposed to giving, that I think is the, the illness, of this modern day in the Western world in general, not only, but this country obviously it's like, leading that.
We're high up on that one for sure. But yeah, that we're not the only one.
Correct.
Yeah, it's true. Somehow that the new way is better than the old way, but the old ways are very connected to earth and energy. And I'm always surprised when I learn something new, like maybe a tradition that maybe is contained in a ceremony. But then when you take our modern culture of science and really break down why they
Hmm.
did some certain thing in a ceremony, you realize like it has a reason and it has a purpose. But we weren't told the purpose. We were just told, well, you light the candle and you put it on the left side and you just do it like that. That's just the way you do it.
Yeah.
But there actually is a reason for all of that
Yeah.
energetically and in the earth and spiritually. There is a reason. You don't know what it is. So just do what you're told. I'm just kidding.
It's a very interesting reflection, because I believe that reason has to do with there is an order, and that order has to do with keeping the balance and the harmony with
Mm-hmm.
nature, with
Mm-hmm.
the natural world around us, with each other. So
Right.
there is an order that has to do with respecting the whole, respecting ourselves and our place as a part of this whole, as opposed to we are here and everything else we get to move and manipulate, and in the way that it makes us feel like it's serving us, like it's giving to us. And most importantly, like we are becoming the owner, right?
Yeah.
Like it's because it adds to our identity. And
Right.
and we are obsessed in this culture with identifying and adding labels and adding you know ways to, yeah, to feel good about ourselves.
Control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ways to control. Um, yeah, that's very interesting. I'm always fascinated by the very fine line of perception between um, like self love and honoring yourself and putting yourself
Mhm.
first and service to others, other all beings, right? Because they are synchronized, but when you say it, it sounds like they don't go together. Well, you
Mm.
have to serve yourself first.
Mhm.
Well, so does that mean you're, disregarding everything else?
Correct.
No. You are serving yourself first, but also in synchronicity with the whole. And that I think is a point that a lot of teachers fail to make
Mhm.
on purpose. I feel like it's just been indoctrinated.
Yeah.
So that service to others, but you never serving yourself. And so you're not complete
Yeah.
because you're just giving and giving and giving, and there's nothing left to give because you're caring about everything else first. Right. So there's like this, there's a way that it fits together, and it's a perception of the mind, really, to be able to feel caring for yourself as a part of caring for the whole
Mhm.
collective of all beings,
Yeah.
right? On a tangent there.
Yeah, there's definitely like a misconception to what is it to take care of ourselves.
Mm.
And I think what is really beautiful about this time and this great season of awakening or stepping into this new era of understanding this, there's no, that we don't have to choose, or beginning to understand that taking care of ourselves is taking care of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just unfortunately going against a lot of the ways in which we have been, to your point, indoctrinated, that we have been educated. um, and but we're doing the work, and I think that's so beautiful. We're here by no coincidence talking about this, and our paths and our lives have taken us in this direction of beginning to unveil those truths for ourselves, but then we are beginning to share uh,
Yeah.
through our gifts, through our hands,
Yeah.
through our words, through our music, you know, through our technology as well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the fine line, and how are we, and that's a whole other
It is a whole other
topic.
topic, but it's all the intention of how you're going to use it, right? And this goes back to something that you probably, if you've been watching any of these videos, I usually end up talking about this because I feel like it's so prevalent right now. Service to self or service to others, right? You can love yourself in service to others, but if you are in service to self, then you are most likely manipulating others to serve you somehow. And it's in that manipulation of others and other beings, animals, plants, all of that, um, that you fall down the negative pathway
Mhm.
when you want something done, but you're going to try to get somebody else to help you, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're kind of like, come on, and you're starting to manipulate their thoughts and ideas. That's when you fall down that slippery slope of the negative path. And I think that that's kind of the plan, that's the programmed plan for
Mm.
humanity to keep you out of your actual true power of loving all that is. Because if you love yourself, which I'm actually pretty deep in that right now. So if I love myself, I can easily love you.
Mhm.
It's easy for me to look at you and just love all that you are because I love me. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I don't need anything from you. I can just look at you and appreciate all
Yeah,
that you are and consider it a blessing just to know you. And that is powerful. But if I'm trying to get something from you, then it turns dark.
yeah,
Then it turns into this insidious, slippery slope that leads a person down the wrong path.
totally.
Well, I say wrong, but you know there's no wrong path. Your choice. You get to
Yeah,
choose
it's a path.
a path, a different
Yeah,
path.
I think we're all collectively becoming aware of this, and in that process, in a version of that process, I know I am. I come from a place of deep separation
Mm,
and conditioning that's, as we know now, fear based, and it has to do with whether you have an abundance uh, mindset and or scarcity.
yeah,
And when you grow up scared for your life or feeling the world is unsafe, there's bombs exploding and there are bad people that you have no control over, and all you can do is close up
yeah,
and create bigger walls and just simply not trust anyone.
yeah,
Then it is a lifetime of learning to heal that, and to break those walls.
yeah.
So
It is. It
that's the
is.
work that we do.
Especially, I always say, especially for women, but men are not immune, obviously, and they have a lot of healing to do
Mhm.
too. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, some men come to the retreats and they have had incredible experiences. And I think being amongst women and in groups of women, when men are always outnumbered, it's been really, for me, a very personal healing experience. And also, I think it's really opened a space for their own healing of their feminine and their
hmm,
relationships.
yeah,
And so it's beautiful. I have started hosting now women's retreats more intentionally, where before it was like, oh, more women are coming. Well, what do women want to do? So let's do more, work with water, and let's do more healing work with plants and herbs, and visit more farms and connect in this way. But I feel it's there's something really special about curating these special containers for just women.
hmm,
So I have one coming up in July, because the ones last year were so incredibly divine in all the ways. So I think I'm really excited about that. And the agenda for that one will be very specific to that healing of the womb, healing of our body, of our sexuality, of our relations with the masculine and the sacred feminine, but also that connection with our creative power.
yeah,
Whether it is creation of life, and in relation to our children and our families and our roles, but truly exploring those inner powers for giving birth to projects and ideas and movements.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like right now it is the women who are leading the shift, and it's important for them to just ground down and really find their power. And that does come from sexual healing. I feel like so many women have had just horrible um, sexual trauma of all different kinds. Um, and until you integrate that and
Mhm.
accept it, and then go find the power and reclaim it,
Mhm.
there's gonna there's a level of I would say, assurance or confidence that will be lacking. They're because that's the root of all of it, is
Correct.
that creative energy, which is sexual energy. And if you don't have that on board, you're not going to be as powerful as you could be.
Right.
So that's super important.
Yeah, from an energetic perspective, and I can speak to my work with women and men too on the Reiki path and the sound healing path, which is the other passion and work that I do. It's really focusing on healing the lower chakras,
Right.
healing our root, healing our sacral,
Yeah.
healing our solar. And then from there we tend to want to move very quickly through this work because that's the mundane, that's really where trauma exists and the shadow and all of that. It's heavy and it's not easy and it takes a lot of commitment and energy and time to see the the to receive the insights and to see the progress. But then once you are there doing that work, and you find that this higher work becomes and this enlightenment and this being able to work with our own divinity, with our guides, with spirit becomes, it just flows,
Yeah. And it gets
but you
unlocked.
have to do the work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. If you, I just keep thinking, like, if all your energy is stuck down in those lower three centers, you just you can get some up to your heart, but most of it's stuck.
mhm.
So can you get there a little bit? Yeah, you'll get there a little bit. Don't you want to get all the way there? But yeah, that requires the shadow work.
Mhm.
Shadow work, um, assimilating, extracting wisdom. What are the other things we call this?
Yeah.
Dark night of the soul, people call it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
All those things are really essentially that same thing. It's going into those lower three chakras and really um, unblocking the flow.
Mhm. Yeah. What happens is until so we can there's two paths to doing this work. You're either consciously, and consistently showing up when your life is in a way under control and flowing,
Right.
or you can um, live your life in a way disconnected or disregarding these aspects. But there are moments, like in my case, you mentioned the dark night of the soul,
Mhm.
and I had to really be touching these rock bottoms in aspects of my life, in my personal life, in my relationships, in my professional life, and feel so um, like there was nowhere else to go. Like I couldn't move on with life, fall into deep depression,
Mhm.
fall into deep sorrow. See, in a way, see your life broken down for you to do the work and to understand that there's no way to go around it. There's no way because there is only so much we can numb and we can disguise and we can wear our masks and show up and we all find moments in life, whether through losing someone that we love or simply falling in illness and being completely depleted. And so for me, these moments I call initiations, where these portals to beginning to heal and do that shadow work to then begin to recognize all these other powers and the love that lives within, that is a guiding force of all.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that dark night of the soul, that's the thing, right? Um, and you may not get just one, you may have a few, but that's just another layer of the onions. Just keep going. Keep going. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Do you remember that from Finding
Nemo.
Nemo?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talk about it all the time with my
Yeah.
10-year-old.
Yeah.
It's what we must do when we stay still we get crushed. When we get
Yeah.
still, we lose our mind.
Yeah.
We lose purpose. We
Wow.
lose faith.
Um, okay, so you host retreat. What else do you do? So you have the Reiki
So my
retreats.
practice is Reiki. So here I mainly focus on sound healing.
Oh,
So
sound healing.
Reiki is truly a part of my sound practice. I still see clients for Reiki, and it's uh, really beautiful. I've been practicing Reiki for over 10 years,
Oh, nice.
and it's been incredible, healing to my life. And it's opened me to work then with my true passion and vessel, which is sound therapy.
Mm,
So vibration, and it's been a incredible journey of slowly being able to incorporate my work with retreats and with the ancestral wisdom into the world of what I was trained on, which is Tibetan sound healing.
oh, oh, oh.
So the bowls and the gongs and all inspired in Buddhism and the Tibetan ancient knowledge that is in itself so powerful. And then being able to truly combine these practices because it all leads to the same roots, to the same insights with other chanting and the flutes and the drums and the more shamanic way of practicing music and healing through sound. And so I found myself allowing myself to create my own thing,
Right.
combining these two
Yeah.
different cultures.
I love that. That's
Hmm.
amazing. Okay, so I see that you brought some stuff with you. Let's see it. Let's see. Hmm. So interesting. Your journey.
Once you begin to share, you reconnect with all of this, which in a way, I'm like, why haven't I shared in
Mhm.
this way? This might be a story that,
Maybe nobody asked you. Right?
or if they did, I said,
Mm-hmm.
I make whatever excuses. It's so interesting, like the resistance to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's another reason why doing this, I feel like all of us women have a little bit of imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
right? So this is just a way to get it out, just get it out there, get it out there, talk about it. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Um, we're not men. We don't go like this. We go like this, right?
Yeah.
That's just our nature.
Hmm.
And just allowing ourselves to be and just speak to the truth that's just coming out.
Yeah.
It's very varied, and we do have um, a way of looking at life that's just fluid
Hmm.
and connected, and we see connections that men who are on that one path, and they're very straight lining,
Hmm.
they do one thing at a time. Women are all over the
I
place.
struggle with that, coming from that place where I've been on just my masculine my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
having to follow, from work and training and education and being in
Mm-hmm.
a very like orthodox Catholic school my whole life and being shamed for not complying or for
Mm-hmm.
any intention to. So no expression of
Mm-hmm.
authenticity in any way. You just simply, so I find myself even in these journeys and going back into these ceremonies and stuff, and I get to experience like really heavy parts of that at the end bring compassion
Right.
and allow me to understand, okay, it's not that I'm, you know it's not that I'm, it's just this,
Mm-hmm.
that's a part of me that I'm healing, and maybe some parts of it I have to live with forever.
Well, and you're
But
also healing it for the collective of
yeah.
all women who have been indoctrinated into
Yeah.
this. Like, we have to be masculine, we have to do things a certain way,
Yeah.
but that's not who we are. And I think we're waking up to that, but each individual woman is waking up to that and being
Yeah.
like, oh wait, I'm not alone in this. Oh, you feel that too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I feel that too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of telling these stories, um, is to help other women to open up and be like, oh, hey, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so powerful because we have been silenced for so long
Mm-hmm.
that even having a place to share that's safe and you're not going to be told what to say,
Correct.
or
That part is a true practice. Like you're not going to be told. You can
say what,
speak.
say whatever you want. Yeah. And then that automatically for a lot of women just locks us
Mm-hmm.
up and we're like, wait, what? But you want to hear
Yeah.
what I think? Ooh, you don't want to hear that.
It's been mortifying for like that process of like, noticing myself in that. Ooh, no, what I have to say is just not gonna be because I'm not an expert, because I'm not at this, because I'm
Right.
not,
Right.
and
Yeah. Well, you just keep showing up and then sooner or later you'll be talking crazy stuff like me.
I just admire your just your presence and how you can be here and engage in the conversation. I could not look at myself not once or the camera because if I did that, I would lose this.
Your train of thought,
So I was,
it'll pull you out.
so I'm
Yeah.
I'm with you. So I think that's gonna look a little weird on my end, but it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I also have this other angle on you too, so we can crop that in because I will edit
That's so
a little
cool.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not massive editing because that's the whole point is we don't want to edit it too much because we want it to be real,
Mm-hmm.
not fabricated.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. Well, one of the things that I love most in life is hearing people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved
Yeah, me too.
it. And not the same story as mine. My story is pretty crazy, but I want to hear your story. Like, I want to hear different cultures, different countries, different practices. I just think it's beautiful and fascinating.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what we were talking about in the very beginning when you came here and just the culture shock and the lack of culture here, this sort of watered down, deleted. It's
Yeah.
like deleted.
Yeah.
It used to be when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
um, when we would drive from state to state
Uh-huh.
on a road trip. Each state was very different.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own stores and their own little mom and pop shops,
Mm-hmm.
and different people had settled there and they had their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
And that has become just less and less and less. When I moved here in 2020, I did a cross country road trip. I did 3 times,
Wow.
3 times back and forth. Um, and it was just sad to see how everything was just kind of the same. Anything that was very beautiful and precious is like plowed over, and there's a Starbucks or a Target or the most prevalent one across the country. Can anybody guess? The dollar
Oh my
store.
God. I know. My daughter is obsessed with the dollar store. I mean, she's like automatically, that means that we stop. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's a
I mean,
place
there's
for
certainly some
emergencies.
good things there, but it's completely lacks um, individuality and uniqueness and
Yeah.
culture and location specific. They say with bees and honey, and when you have a cold, right, that you should have the honey from
Mm-hmm.
the bees from your area where you live
Mm-hmm.
because it has more power to affect whatever cold that you have that you got in that area where you live.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, say, in Connecticut, that's where I grew up, if you're in Connecticut and you have a cold, getting California honey is not going to help you. It may
Correct.
taste sweet,
Yeah,
but
because
it doesn't have the ingredients. It doesn't have the local vibe, right? So that's one of the things about the country that's just been diluted There's no local vibe. Like, where's the local vibe?
Mhm. Yeah, you find it probably you have to just go really, really intentional about looking for specific places. And
Yeah.
um, interesting. I love this country has so much to offer and so many beautiful, incredible, magical places. I have
Yeah.
not, I mean, I know a few. I've visited some of the most beautiful states, but I haven't really seen much.
Right.
And I feel like I would love to do that as well. Now that I live here and like, expose my daughter to that.
Yeah. Well, you got to come paddleboarding with us
Oh,
to the
yes.
river. Have you done that yet?
No.
Oh, well, that's one of the most beautiful places in
Yeah.
Florida. Easily.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me about sound healing and what you have here.
Yeah. So I brought a couple of instruments, and these are Tibetan singing bowls or Himalayan singing bowls.
Mm,
So I,
beautiful.
they are instruments that are sacred in the Tibetan culture. These ones particularly come from Kathmandu,
Oh,
outside of Kathmandu, a small village of crafts men and women who have been passing down the knowledge on how to craft, how to create the bowls. But it's also a spiritual process that involves a lot of prayer and intention,
mm.
specifically through chanting, and that's what they do.
While they're making the bowl.
Yes. So
That's
some of these bowls are a process of several um, journeys under the full moon of chanting and prayer as they're hammering, as they are molding them into these highly vibrational instruments that produce not only beautiful frequencies, but it's don't ask me how, but they are all in tune or aligned with the frequency of a specific cosmic body.
right.
So a planet, the sun,
Mm.
the moon.
Ooh, that gave me shivers.
And so they being exposed to these frequencies does a lot of things. One, it our skin is the biggest organ. Our skin is absorbing or is receiving the vibration, but also our nervous system through our vagus nerve is kind of the window in the ears of our whole body when it
Mm.
comes to like the vibration. These waves and frequencies are being received, enter our nervous system, and shift our brain activity, our brain waves,
Amazing.
alpha, beta, alpha, delta, theta waves,
Mm.
creating this environment of deep stillness and relaxation where healing can happen. And it happens because every cell of our body is mirroring the frequencies that are natural to us, but we've just forgotten. Our cells have forgotten to operate at these high frequencies.
Mhm.
We all the environmental factors and the pollution and the noise and the distraction and technology
Oof.
keep us in here in our mind and disconnected from our body. So this has truly been a life changer for me since the first time that I experienced it, and since I have been trained and learning more about it, and sharing it with others, I can truly see how your ability to be present and to be still and to breathe just changes dramatically. And like the before and after of a session with one person or group sessions are just completely
Mm.
miraculous.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so being exposed consistently to sound and vibration is a way that a lot of people are choosing an alternative to therapy, to different therapies, or in combination with other methods for holistic healing. But it is truly helping you be more in tune and feel more light. Also, it is removing the blocks and the energy that's stagnant. And so you can combine these with chanting, which is something that I do uh, with breath and with other instruments to create this musical journey that elevates you
So
and
cool.
brings you back into your nature.
I have always loved singing bowls, and I had one from a friend a while back, and that one has left me. And then I got another one, but I just bought it online, and it doesn't have the same quality that the first one has. The first one was a Tibetan bowl, and the other one, I don't know, if it was from Amazon. So whole different vibe.
Yeah.
Um, but I was also looking into crystal bowls, like getting a bowl set because I love sound. I love it.
Hmm.
And I could sit there for hours and just play it in my own meditation. Just love it.
Yeah. They are like a beautiful ally for any sort of spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And in a therapeutic setting,
It's
a lot of
alignment.
therapists and yoga teachers and different practitioners use sound
Yeah.
to harmonize and to deepen their practice. And so
That's
it's making it here for a reason. So this is the strummer. It's also called a rubber. Normally I use another mallet for um, you know strumming it, but the sound would be. So this one, for instance, is sacral bowl. So in the Tibetan scale is C. C is the note.
Mm.
And on a session, I would place this bowl normally on your body.
I would sit it right on the
I would
body.
sit right on your body,
Oh,
and
wow.
sometimes I use water
In the bowl.
in the bowl, and the water just helps transport the the waves
Right.
of sound and to
So
penetrate
it's
into that part.
the thing that I love about it is there's like a multitude of tones in there. It's not just one. And then there's that low wave.
Right.
Sounds like
So you are
a
hearing,
yeah.
you're listening with your ears, but you are also
Feel
receiving
it.
the sound through every part of your body.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And what people experience is your mind can be there, you can have thoughts, but you always come back. The sound brings you back into presence,
Yeah.
into many people describe it as a floating, like
Right.
it's you are floating on a cloud of sound.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Sound bath is just amazing. If you haven't done a sound bath, you
Yeah,
really
please go and try one.
try one.
So this is one of 7 that are the set. There are
Nice.
different protocols that I use. And then I create my own protocols depending on where I feel and experience. And in a way, Reiki helps me kind of get the diagnose down and
Right.
know which areas to focus on.
Right.
So a beautiful protocol sometimes is to work with C. This sacral bowl works beautifully with A, which is the throat chakra. As you know, our sacral and our throat, especially in women,
Yeah.
are so connected.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of healing happening with playing them with a specific rhythm and pattern.
On those two places.
Yes. And having a bowl near your throat chakra and having another one here. This one is a beautiful bell, also made out of 7 metals.
Mm.
So imagine the perfection of it. And so,
Turn it up a little. Yeah,
yeah.
nice. Ooh, that is powerful. Wow.
So the key is to stay with the sound through the end, which there's no end.
Right? It just keeps
It
going.
keeps going.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. What were you doing with the lips? Tell me about that.
I am, through intention,
Mm-hmm.
I am, channeling, but also because of the way that the metals work together and the vibration and the shape of the instrument,
Right.
I'm able to modify those frequencies to give them
Wow.
a shape in a way. There's probably a physics
Right.
explanation to it, and I'm just
Yeah.
making this all
And
up.
that's
But
what I'm doing in my head. I'm
I
like, oh
learned
yeah, the
I
words.
learned that I could talk to it
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
and infuse it with my own energy and intention.
Into the sound wave. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then the other part of this is, yes, it's beautiful, to learn to the protocols and to share the session and to do all these parts. But the number one, I think, element of it too, as a participant, as a recipient, is your own intention and your own openness to receive these
Right.
tools. And so preparing for a session is very important. Having an idea of what is it that brings you to to
Right.
to open. It's a way to honor where you are in your path and to receive clarity. Because whenever we are in this state, we are wide open to messages,
Right.
and we always receive something, whether it is during the session, which happens often, but also the following night when you go to bed and you dream, or
Right.
when you're driving your car, you are so in tune and so in your essence or in frequency with your body and with the world around you that clarity just flows. And so that's how it is experienced.
I love it. The bell is amazing. It's not even a bell. It's like a.
It
It
is a
looks like
bowl.
a bell.
It is a
It's
bowl,
a
and
bowl.
I appreciate having the handle. It makes it a little. These are all very heavy
Easier
instruments.
to hold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. Very cool. Nice. And let's see the flute too. You brought it. Let's just hear it.
Oh, I brought a flute. So this is fairly new. I
Let's see.
normally use, I have a couple of flutes that are very traditional from Colombia. This one I connected it through a training that I did, and it is made here in the States.
Oh,
And it's a native flute made out of cedar wood.
oh wow. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's big too. So I'm like learning to
Yeah,
play it.
to
So
even hold it, right? Yeah, it is big.
yes, it is big. It's heavy, but it produces a beautiful sound. So this is a test trial for me. So
Yeah, let's see.
All right.
That's awesome. That one is such a beautiful flavor, like essence.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all fluids and instruments have their own personality. So
Right.
it's like we are meeting for the first time. It's been like 4 days or so.
Oh,
And
it's
I
brand
thought it'd be
new.
very brave to bring it with me today.
You did.
Right.
Very nice.
Hmm.
Awesome. Well, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me. And where can everyone find you?
Hmm. Thank you, Kristen. This has been truly a beautiful opportunity, for me to be here. Thank you for such a beautiful container for this work and this sharing. And I deeply hope that this message, any of these messages, resonate with someone out there. I can be found through the platform or the website. It's called Return to Origin. So the origin is with an E at the end, Origen in Spanish.
Okay.
So it's Return to Origen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on social media as well, Return to Origen. And then the retreat platform has its own little, I guess, Instagram page, and that is Origen Travel Journeys.
Okay.
So I have the information there. I'm trying to be more active and share more.
Nice.
And yeah, I am locally here practicing doing sound baths in St. Petersburg. And starting next week, I will be at a place called Fire and Stone Shamanic Center in Clearwater.
Nice.
And I also work with a one-on-one clients virtually for St. Pete or Clearwater.
Nice.
And
So I will put all of your links in the show notes. So anyone who wants to work with her lovely space, you'll be able to do that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for spending time with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe because we need you. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers.
wow.
So help us out. And I will see you next time on Most Amazing Woman. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys.